Welcome to the Historylands. Today we will delve into one of the most tragic days in human history, a day that shook the world. Join us as we take a closer look at the events of September 11 and the collapse of the Twin Towers. American Airlines Flight 11 hit the North Tower at 8:46 a.m., crashing through floors 93 through 99. United Airlines Flight 175 hit the South Tower just 17 minutes later, crashing into floors 77 through 85. A helicopter flies past the World Trade Center after a commercial plane slammed into it, September 11, 2001. Time magazine's cover image of the South Tower being hit, at first glance beautiful, then almost instantly impossible to look at, of people floating through the air, the people who saw no choice but to leap from the fire. Sarah K. Schwittek took this photo from the window of her office, across the East River in Brooklyn. After burning for 56 minutes, the South Tower of the World Trade Center collapses, killing more than 800 people in and around the building. People look out of the burning North Tower of the World Trade Center, September 11, 2001. A person falls from the North Tower of New York's World Trade Center as another clings to the outside, left, while smoke and fire billow from the building. Tuesday, September 11, 2001. This photo shows people running as the North Tower of World Trade Center collapses, spewing a cloud of toxic dust and debris. A traffic cop on the corner of Church and Chambers Streets looks at the Trade Center just after the first plane hit. Pedestrians' shocked and terrified reaction to the collapse of the World Trade Center, September 11, 2001. People watch from Jersey City, NJ, as the North Tower dissolves in a cloud of dust and debris about a half hour after the South Tower collapsed. More than 1,600 people in and around the building are killed. Only 102 minutes passed between the time of the first plane crash and the collapse of the second tower. People walk over the Brooklyn Bridge as the World Trade Center towers burn in the distance. Pedestrians in Lower Manhattan watch smoke billow from New York's World Trade Center on Tuesday, September 100, 2001. People cover their faces in disgust and shock as they flee the collapse of the World Trade Center in New York on September 11, 2001. Deputy Chief of the Army Reserve, Colonel Malcolm Bruce Westcott, comforts Pentagon employee Raquel Kelly while giving her medical aid outside the Pentagon in Washington on Tuesday, September 11, 2001. People flee the falling South Tower of the World Trade Center on Tuesday, September 11, 2001. An ambulance rushes toward the World Trade Center area after reports that the Twin Towers had been struck by a commercial airliner in a suspected terrorist attack on September 11, 2001. After two planes hit the Twin Towers, onlookers look on in awe at the damaged World Trade Center. This is a view from West Broadway in Lower Manhattan, as people gaze up at the burning World Trade Center towers on September 11, 2001. Civilians take cover as a dust cloud from the collapse of the World Trade Center envelops Lower Manhattan. White House Chief of Staff Andrew Card whispers into the ear of US President George W. Bush as Bush was visiting an elementary school in Sarasota, Florida, on the morning of September 11. A firefighter covered with ash is helped toward shelter after the World Trade Center collapse. A group of firefighters carry one of their colleagues, Ao Fuentes, who was injured in the collapse of the World Trade Center. A fireman screams in pain as he is rescued shortly after both towers of New York's World Trade Center collapsed following a terrorist attack, Tuesday, September 11, 2001. New York Daily News staff photographer David Hanshu is carried from danger after his leg was shattered by falling debris while he was photographing the scene. A firefighter runs into the street as the World Trade Center crumbles behind him. Police officer Mike Brennan helps a distraught woman covered in ash and debris seek shelter following the collapse of the North Tower. In the years since the attack, thousands of first responders and survivors have died due to cancer or aerodigestive disorders, according to the CDC. Firemen worked near the wreckage of the World Trade Center, September 11, 2001. Bewildered, exhausted, and bewildered, firefighters search for survivors after the Twin Towers collapse. People walk across the Brooklyn Bridge as they flee Lower Manhattan on September 11th. Time stood still as the crowd turned their attention back towards Lower Manhattan and witnessed the collapse in disbelief and horror, the photographer said. The Statue of Liberty can be seen from Jersey City, New Jersey, as the Lower Manhattan skyline remains shrouded in smoke on September 15, 2001. People carry the Reverend Michael F. Judge, the chaplain of the New York City Fire Department, after he was fatally struck by falling debris at the World Trade Center. Judge had just administered last rites to a firefighter at the site. An unidentified New York City firefighter walks near Ground Zero after the collapse of the Twin Towers on September 11, 2001. Firefighters and bystanders on the West Side Highway look south toward the remains of the World Trade Center on September 11, 2001. Smoke continued to billow from the burning debris after the collapse. An unidentified New York City firefighter walks away from Ground Zero after the collapse of the Twin Towers, September 11, 2001, in New York City. After the attack, a survivor sits outside the World Trade Center, looking tearful and shocked. Emergency crews survey the damage after the fall of the Twin Towers. A firefighter is covered in dust after the collapse of the World Trade Center. The city's fire department deployed half its units to the site in response to the attacks. An unidentified man walks on an ash-covered street in Lower Manhattan after the collapse of the Twin Towers. President George W. Bush speaks to rescue workers, firefighters, and police officers from the rubble of Ground Zero on September 14, 2001. This photo shows an American flag through the cloud of dust on the evening of September 11, 2001. Surrounding Manhattan buildings also suffered severe damage, including 7 World Trade Center, which eventually collapsed. First responders assist people in the immediate aftermath of the World Trade Center's collapse. As I made my way downtown to the area where this picture was taken, on Church Street near the intersection with Day Street, it was difficult to make sense of what was going on. Photographer Justin Lane said, "The city blocks were unrecognizable with dust and smoke." A New York City firefighter calls for 10 more rescue workers to help as he works in the rubble of the World Trade Center on September 14, 2001. New York City police officer Richard Adamayak, foreground, is among several people taking refuge in a dealie near the World Trade Center after the towers collapsed. Cars smolder in the street as the destroyed World Trade Center burns in New York, September 11, 2001. A firefighter walks amid rubble near the base of the destroyed World Trade Center in New York. September 11, 2001. A police car crushed outside the Trade Center site, seen September 12, 2001. Captain Michael Dugan hangs an American flag from a light pole in front of what is left of the World Trade Center after it was destroyed in a terrorist attack, September 11, 2001, in New York City. The firefighter, holding his helmet and waist, stares in amazement at the ruins of the Twin Towers. A man looks at the ruins of the towers in amazement and wonders how such a grand tower has become a pile of ash. A worker wipes his brow in the wreckage of the World Trade Center. September 13, 2001, in New York City, 2 days after the Twin Towers were destroyed by 2 hijacked passenger jets. A postcard pictured with the Twin Towers lies amid the rubble of the World Trade Center on September 14, 2001. A family photo sits in the debris of the World Trade Center following the terrorist attack. Photos taken on 9/11 of the terrorist attacks that brought down the World Trade Center Twin Towers. Photos taken from Exchange Place in Jersey City, just across the Hudson River from the WRT. September 12, 2001. Firefighters survey the wreckage of the World Trade Center through blown-out windows of a World Financial Center building. First responders at the remains of the World Trade Center in New York City on September 15, 2001, after the 9/11 terrorist attacks. In 2024, there are still more than 37,000 certified 9/11 victims who are battling cancer and other serious physical and psychological illnesses. An amateur photographer on Church Street captures the collapse of Tower 2, the South Tower, of the World Trade Center at 9:55 a.m. Tower 1, the North Tower, still standing here, collapsed at 10:29 a.m. USA, Brooklyn, New York, September 11, 2001. Young people relax during their lunch break along the East River while a huge plume of smoke rises from Lower Manhattan after the attack on the World Trade Center. USA, New York City, September 11, 2001. Streets of Lower Manhattan are filled with wreckage from the collapse of the WC. New York City, abandoned telephones in the financial district. Dust, ash, and rubble cover everything on a street in Lower Manhattan. A New York firefighter pauses as smoke rises in the background. New York City firefighters take a break on West Street near the wreckage of the World Trade Center in New York City, September 12, 2001. A New York City firefighter returns from battling building blazes near Vesey and Greenwich Streets after the World Trade Center collapse, September 11, 2001. New York City firefighters and other emergency personnel survey the World Trade Center collapse area near Vesey and Greenwich Streets after the World Trade Center collapse, September 11, 2001. Firefighters are searching and assessing the conditions and extent of the damage. Work crews begin to clear the mountain of wreckage from the collapse of the World Trade Center's Twin Towers. A group of firefighters walk amid rubble near the base of the destroyed South Tower of the World Trade Center in New York. An officer's tears of anger as he pays tribute to the victims of 9/11 in New York. Members of Congress gather on the east steps of Capitol Hill and sing "God Bless America" to denounce the terrorist attacks. A man is overcome with emotion as he pauses at a memorial at a fire station housing Engine 54, Ladder 4, Battalion 9 in New York, September 14, 2001. The man's shocked and bewildered face is drawn to the photos and announcements of the victims September 11. Victoria Ferris left, and her daughter, Robin Kastner, cry as they watch television coverage of the terror attacks at a Red Cross center in Rochester, NY. People pause at a memorial at a fire station housing Engine 54, Ladder 4. Battalion 9, in New York, September 14, 2001. People in New York gather for a candlelight vigil a day after the attacks.